Hey everyone. So for our first lesson, first module, you will see I have this handout for you. It just describes the various shades of pencils. This one is 2H, 2H. The H means hard, the B means black, F is fine, and you'll see that in the module. And they will help you shade and get various tones. So whatever kit you have decided to end up with, this is just essentially like a cheat sheet for you. And if you need to refer to it, by all means, it's there for you. Right now, I currently only have a 2H, so that's what I will be working with. But as we move on, just this first week is a little light in terms of drawing exercises, just because I want you to get some practice. And so the PowerPoint we have talks about various ways to shade. So we have hatching. Please review it. Please review it. You can see different ways to shade and shadow. Angled strokes and short curved strokes. And I tried to throw some examples in there just so you could get an idea of how these marks can be used. I love this example, just the simplicity of it. And even this one is essentially your vertical hatching. If you refer back to the second slide. And just different pressure, different pencils. I'd say different pencils depending on what you have. Cross hatching is always fun, but it is time consuming. This is kind of a no-no right here. I have a red line drawn through it. This is how you want it. Lots of overlapping, thicker in areas, thinner where we want lighter areas. And I'll show you some examples here. It's non-existent here, which would be the light hitting off of the picture. Everywhere you see white would be where the light hits. Everywhere where you see dark or almost black is where there's an absence of light, or, maybe these taller objects are covering, taking all the light from the light source. But even when you look here, you can see it's much lighter on this side than on this side. The lines are farther apart. The lines are thicker and closer together, especially when we jump over here to look at this shape and this shape. The boots I just thought were a fun piece because our first assignment is shoes. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Blending is something that, we'll do moving forward, or you might want to experiment with. Tortillons are good to use for blending. Do not use, your finger. I know I'm guilty. Sometimes I find myself doing that, but if you do not have a blending tool yet, you can grab yourself a tissue while we're sitting here talking and practicing, and you could just twist it and essentially give yourself that tortillon shape, and it works just as good until you get the supplies you need. Here are some blending examples. It's just a great tool to have if you want that nice, crisp, clean, look. Pointillism, some of you have seen this before, or if you've studied art history, maybe have seen it in painting. It was an art movement there for a while. It's pointillism or stippling. The closer the dots are together, the darker it is. Similar to cross hatching in that respect. The closer the dots, closer the lines, the darker the area. But here are just some examples, and you can see them better in your PowerPoint. I'm just kind of reviewing this with you to get to our assignments, which is just some practice for you. But assignment 1, I have this sheet uploaded for you, and if you do not have a printer, you can just draw it out the best you can. If you have a ruler, go ahead and use that. We are going to be practicing. Here's our vertical hatching and our curved hatching, cross hatching, blending, and stippling. And you can see the stippling. I actually started to use a micron pen. I have a number 2, which is a fine point. It's going to take me forever to do this, but I will work on it. I did the vertical hatching, which I think turned out pretty nice. You essentially want to start with a dark, very dark area and work your way to white. So you'll do that for all of these. I started to do the cross hatching, not perfect, but I was just experimenting. And if you have a hard time, try this one first. And if you're having a hard time, this is essentially this assignment just with blocks. So you can start with your hatching. And you can try just different pencils. And you can refer to your cheat sheet if you need, if you have these pencils. And you can start with like your 9B, which is your very, very dark, and kind of work your way through your pencils and just experiment with your pencils. Softer pencils produce darker values, hard pencils produce delicate light strokes. So you can experiment just with hatching, even if you do the first 3. I'm okay with that. You don't have to do all of them, but that'll just give you some practice with your pencils before we move on to our second part of the module, which will be from chapter 1 in the book. So here's an example. So please be sure to do these 2 practice exercises, so assignment 1 and 2, and start to read chapter 1. I have copies of it in the module for you in case you didn't get your book yet. And you know, be prepared to start the third, the first exercise of the text, okay?